You're watching a presentation of the Southeastern Conference on ABC.
A rainy day in Oxford hasn't dampened the spirit of Ole Miss fans on the Grove as they get ready for a huge home game against Georgia. Lane Kiffin looking for the biggest win of his 5-year tenure as head coach of the Rebels. His team arrives with momentum. Jackson Dart set school records for total offense and passing yards in their rout of the Hogs at Arkansas last weekend. Kirby Smart brings the Dogs to Oxford for the first time since 2016. They arrive winners of 52 straight against teams not named Alabama. They're 7-1 this year, the only blemish to the Tide, despite the fact that Carson Beck has struggled. 11 interceptions in his last 5 games, and today he faces a Rebel defense that leads the nation in sacks. You're watching the SEC on ABC, presented by Burger King. And welcome everyone to the Bud Light kickoff. The Georgia Bulldogs, number 3 in the first college football playoff rankings that came out earlier this week against the Ole Miss Rebels, number 16. Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy, delighted to have you with us. One of the big home games in the history of this Ole Miss football program here today. With those rankings that came out earlier this week, Georgia's in really good shape. Right now, 91% chance, according to the All-State Playoff Predictor, of making the 12-team field with a win today. They're in. Meanwhile, Ole Miss on the outside looking in right now, but a win today gets their chances above 50%. A loss, and they're out. It's an elimination game for them. And, Greg, they're going to try to win this big game today without their leading rusher, Henry Parrish, who was injured late in the first half last week at Arkansas. And they're going to play for the 3rd game in a row without their leading receiver, one of the best in the nation, Trey Harris. But as we saw when they put 63 points on the Hogs in Fayetteville last week, they are still very explosive and very talented.
They have so many weapons. And Jackson Dart last week really elevated his play to a level that I've never seen before from him. He was so good on the downfield throws, 4 for 4 on throws that traveled 30 or more yards downfield. He's going to have to do that again. He recognizes safeties are high, but he trusts his wide receiver, and it's the accuracy downfield that allowed for a bunch of yards after catch, which will be important today. But in order to throw it downfield, you got to have time. That's why protection is going to be so important for Ole Miss. The offensive line at times this year has struggled. The running backs at times have struggled. And against the pass rushing group like this for Georgia, they're going to have to be as good as they've been all season long.
The Kirby Smart, the Georgia coach, says Jackson Dart's playing better than any quarterback in the Southeastern Conference right now. Hard to argue after what we saw last week. Meanwhile, his quarterback, Carson Beck, was a Heisman Trophy favorite for many entering this season, but he hasn't played like it.
He hasn't, and it looks like he's pressing too. He looks like he's trying to do too much, trying to put the team on his back, and it's just not necessary. He's got great playmakers around him, but he's not seeing the field very well, and the pass rush has affected him multiple times this year, most notably against Kentucky, and then last week at times against the Florida Gators. They are confident in Beck, though. They think he's coming off his best week of practice, and they still believe in him. With the game on the line, he's going to deliver the throw on a critical 3rd down like he has on multiple occasions this year.
Even though he hasn't been at his best, they're still 20-2 with Beck as the starting quarterback over 2 years. Old friends renew their acquaintances. Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin were coordinators together at Alabama. You're watching the Bud Light kickoff from Oxford, Mississippi.
Ole Miss cannot afford to lose. They're facing potential elimination in the playoff conversation. Enjoy your game. Sean McDonough, take it away.
All right, Kevin Booger, thank you. Welcome back, everybody, to Oxford, Mississippi, where the rain has intensified a bit as we get close to game time. And time running out on this 2024 season. The importance of each game magnified as we head down the stretch.
The clock is ticking.
Every game is a must-win for Ole Miss.
Can Carson Beck get back on track?
This is the biggest game in the history of Oxford, Mississippi.
In the Grove, set the tempo and make your mark.
This offense has been wicked.
Touchdown, Georgia.
I've always been resilient and want to bring that.
Time to step up or get stepped over.
Got to win out. It's another option.
Let's go!
Take a look at the Bud Light kickoff spotlight. This rivalry dates back to 1940. Georgia, big edge all time, including lately. They won 11 of the last 12, but the one loss in that span was the last time they were here in Kirby Smart's first season as head coach. They arrived here 3-0, and they lost 45-14, which is still the biggest defeat for Georgia under Kirby Smart. He and the Dogs now taking the field. In his 9th season as head coach, Ole Miss taking the field. Looking for just the 2nd win in school history against a team ranked in the AP top 2. It would be the highest ranked opponent that Lane Kiffin has defeated in his 13 seasons as a head coach. The last 5 here in Oxford. Georgia ranked number 2 in the AP poll, number 3 in the CFB, behind Oregon and Ohio State. And Greg, the Ole Miss Rebels, Lane Kiffin said, usually he doesn't talk about big picture once like so many coaches, to focus on the next game, the next play in the next game. But he said a lot of you guys are here because you want to be in the 12-team playoff. Well, if you do, you have to win this game.
And if you want to play in a team, play up to a team like Georgia, you have to find the reinforcements along the lines of scrimmage. Lane Kiffin went out in the portal this offseason, brought in a bunch of very high-profile players along the offensive and defensive line so that they can match up against teams like Georgia. This is their test, and I think they're ready for it today.
Jeff Hazer is the referee.
Division team. This is the head. That's the tail. Head, tail. What is your call? Heads. Heads is the call. Heads is the call. Heads is the call. It is the heads. You want to defer. Georgia's won the toss and they've deferred. You're going to receive. Which way you want to kick? Switch your backs. Put your backs. Go around.
Here's Molly with Lane Kiffin.
Coach, how will these wet conditions affect this game today?
Well, we're about to find out. It depends on how much it keeps raining. So I think right now it actually favors some movement skills on offense, but it just depends on how much it rains. We've kind of been in a game like this 5 years ago. You were here against Alabama, so we'll have to play it. We'll have to take care of the ball, and we'll have to go after the ball and take it away from them.
No Henry Parrish, no Trey Harris, and a wet field. How does your offense find success despite that?
Well, you're not. I'm glad you didn't talk to the team. You're not very positive. So those are 2 great players, running back and the best receiver in the country. But hey, next man up. Let's go play really well.
All right, thanks, Coach. Sean.
All right, Molly. Started raining here overnight. Rained much of the morning. Tapered off for a while. It has intensified in the last half hour or so. Natural grass field. It's in good shape. Do you think the rain's a factor either way? One thing Lane said yesterday when we visited with him, he's a little bit concerned about his pass rush on the top sack team in the country because they really do rely on speed primarily with those pass rushing specialists.
Absolutely. I've always thought, too, that rain games and a wet track favors the offense because you know where you're going. The defense has to react, and they oftentimes don't have their feet underneath them all the time. So offense, I think, would be favored in a situation like this.
Not much breeze to speak of as Peyton Woodring gets ready to kick it off for Georgia. Micah Davis is the deepest back for Ole Miss. Carson Beck hoping for a performance that will change the trajectory of his season individually. Woodring, one of the best kickers in the country, boots a touchback. So here comes Ole Miss on offense, led by Jackson Dart, who leads the nation in total offense. He's 5th in completion percentage. In his 3,210 passing yards, number 1 in the country entering this weekend. 3rd-year starter, senior from Kaysville, Utah. And coaches on both sides, Greg said, when he's accurate, he's tremendous, but sometimes a little scattershot.
A little bit, but the downfield stuff really picked up last week. So trying to pick up where he left off against Arkansas.
Even without Harris, they think they have one of the best wide receiver groups in the country. Jordan Watkins had 5 touchdown catches last week. Juice Wells went in motion. Jackson Dart's an excellent runner. And he gets yanked down by Nazir Stackhouse after a 1-yard gain. Matter of fact, Kirby Smart said Jackson Dart runs like an SEC running back.
He's big and physical, not crazy breakaway speed, but very crafty, and his legs will be a factor today to slow down that pass rush.
They like to go very quickly, and he's in trouble. Chaz Chambliss has him wrapped up, and down he goes. Back at the 19-yard line. Kristen Miller there as well for Georgia to help finish him off. It's a loss of 6.
What a great pass rush by Georgia, and these are the downs that Ole Miss has to avoid. 3rd and longs against a very athletic group on the front.
There's Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator. Ulysses Bentley is the running back in for Parrish today. Dart throws a floater, intercepted by Dan Jackson. And the 6th-year senior brings it back near the 20-yard line. They put pressure on Dart, who's limping as he heads to the sideline. Jackson picked it off, the 4th of his career.
And Jalen Walker working against the right guard. Jerquan Scott beats him inside, gets a hand on Dart. Release, can't follow through. The ball sails high, and it's easily intercepted. Just a great pass rush on consecutive plays from Georgia, and a big interception to start the game for the Georgia Bulldogs.
We mentioned Dart. The games when he hasn't been very accurate, not coincidentally, he's been pressured by teams like Kentucky and South Carolina. Trevor Etienne is on the field as the running back for Georgia, playing through a rib injury that took him out of the game against Florida in Jacksonville last week, just prior to the half. He got 6 on the carry. Dart obviously upset, both with the result of the play and the physical pain that sends him into the medical tent. Etienne is their leading rusher. Straight ahead again. And he's down near the 12-yard line. About a yard short of the first down.
Georgia needs to continue to commit to running the football. They've been very pass happy this year, but they are hoping to get 25 touches to their running backs today.
Etienne, nice cut, good hole, first down. 1st and goal, Georgia at the 7. That's a 5-yard gain for Etienne. First year at Georgia as a transfer from Florida, where he played 2 seasons for the Gators. He started out and now stays on the field. Georgia's been a very slow starting team. Cash Jones joins Etienne. They're on either side of Beck. They stick with the run. Room outside. And Etienne gets to the 4. Chris Paul led the way for the Ole Miss defense. Excellent linebacker, a transfer from Arkansas.
And this defense has been outstanding all season long against the run. 82 yards a game given up. That's one of the tops in the country. But you know, Georgia, with that being a huge point of emphasis, they're going to continue to lean on it, especially here in the red zone where the field's condensed.
After the turnover, Georgia's run 4 plays, all of them carries from Travis Etienne. Extra tight ends on the field now. Cash Jones, the running back, he gets it on the delay, and he's going down for a loss. Belted down back at the 8-yard line. Chris Paul led the way again. They got hammered by the Dogs in Athens last year. Jackson Dart limping along the sideline. And that's when Lane Kiffin realized his program was better, but not good enough to compete with Georgia. So they went into the portal for a lot of players, especially on defense, including Paul.
They've really upgraded their pass rush for downs like this, too. Watch these defensive linemen, see if they can get home.
3rd down and goal. Quick throw out out wide. ETN maneuvering, fighting in short of the goal line. They'll mark him near the 2. Jaden Kennedy made the tackle. Dart continues limping on his way to the locker room. That is a huge development. And the defense holds. Or does it force a field goal attempt? No. Kirby Smart's leading the offense on the field on 4th down and goal from the 2.
Aggressive here. I would probably take the points on the road on the short field.
They've been a terrific 4th down team this year. Nate Frazier to the goal line. Touchdown, Georgia. The true freshman from Compton, California. In from 2 yards out. And the 4th down success continues for the Dogs. They lead 6-0.
And a great job on the outside. You got tight ends and wide receivers. Humphreys, number 16, he gets beat inside. But the progressive pylon cam shows you just how hard Frazier hits that hole, surges across, and cashes in on the 4th down gamble.
Nightmarish start for Lane Kiffin. A turnover. His outstanding quarterback hurt while throwing the interception. And Georgia's capitalized on the takeaway. Peyton Woodring adds the extra point. Nate Frazier scored the first touchdown of the game for Georgia last week against the Gators. He's done it again today against Ole Miss.
You're watching Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart limped off the field and back to the locker room in visible pain, favoring his left ankle. You saw him slam his helmet in frustration. I'm told he went to the locker room for further evaluation, but he couldn't put any weight on his left leg. I'll keep you updated as I learn more, but the Rebels quarterback still back in the locker room right now, guys.
He's been a stalwart 3-year starter. Today is 35th career start for Ole Miss after he spent 1 year at USC. Woodring kicks off again. And it's another touchback. So that means it'll be Austin Simmons as the quarterback. The lefty, redshirt freshman out of Miami, Pahokee High School, north of Miami. He's appeared in mop-up duty in 6 games, including last week. He came in with about 10 minutes to go, went 3 for 3 and threw their 7th and final touchdown pass of the day against the Razorbacks.
He's a very gifted young man. Live arm, really accurate baseball player with a background, so he can really a natural thrower, but they're going to have to run the ball to take the pressure off the freshman.
He was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school, throws on the run. Juice Wells had to lunge for it. He caught it. And it's a first down with an 11-yard gain to Wells. Transfer from South Carolina. They've been expecting more from him, and lately he's been giving it to them. Battled injuries when he first arrived here in Oxford. Play fake, Simmons. That pass is complete. Caught by Daquan Wright. He had 9 catches last week. The tight end got 11 more. The Rebels go quickly.
And with the quick game, this Georgia defense does a great job. Nas Stackhouse drops out underneath and tips it. But luckily, right there on the receiving end.
A great break for Ole Miss. Stackhouse deflected it, but it wound up right in the hands of Wright. Ulysses Bentley, the running back. You know, they obviously would rather have Trey Harris. Lane Kiffin thinks he's the best receiver in the country. But one thing we saw last week, and the coaches talked about it, when Jackson Dart was the quarterback last week, you don't get locked on one guy as you might when Harris is in there. They think they have a lot of weapons, and they used them all last week. Bentley dropped for a loss of 1 by C.J. Allen.
Yeah, sometimes when you have an elite weapon at wide receiver, I play with Julio Jones. Sometimes when you're looking at the field, you're looking through a straw in the direction of that great take over the game guy. This now opens up the whole offense, but it's going to be tough for a freshman as Dart's coming back to the field.
And noticeably limping as he does. Play action pass, and the catch made by Jordan Watkins of his record-setting performance last week against the Hogs when he had 8 catches for a school record 254 yards and 5 touchdowns. which tied the conference record and set the school record. They're about 2 yards short of the first down and going for it just inside the 45.
Initially, Lane Kiffin ran on his big defensive tackle, J.J. Pegues, but I think with it being kind of a long one, they're deciding not to go with that short yardage package that's been unstoppable all year long.
So no running threat from Dart. Their leading rusher out as well, and their leading receiver with the backup quarterback going for it on fourth down. Caden Lee, the slot receiver, has a first down. Dan Jackson made the tackle. Austin Simmons thrust into the action and cool as a cucumber so far.
And really nice design here. They kind of treat that like a stack, and you know Lee's going to have one-on-one with outside leverage. A great throw.
12-yard gain. He hasn't missed yet, and now he has as he fires one over the head of Daquan Wright. And he's a tough man to airmail. Big target for Lane Kiffin's quarterback, 6'4", 205. Excuse me, 255, the transfer from Virginia Tech. Dart has his helmet on. Simmons 4 out of 5 for 44. He's marched them to the 32 of Georgia. On 2nd and 10, Bentley, who was involved as a backup last year, Greg, to Quinshon Judkins. Dart looks like he wants to come back in. Hasn't played anywhere near as much this year. Lane Kiffin said, well, basically other guys in the running back room have outperformed him. But Matt Jones, who was the backup, also injured. So it's Bentley, the running back, who's been their number 3 most of the year. Caden Lee is open. First and goal, Rebels. Simmons, a revelation. Another throw on target to a talented receiver for 20 yards.
And that was a thing of beauty there from Simmons, and now expect the run game. And they need to run it outside the tackles.
And how impressive, too, as they give it to Bentley up the middle and into the end zone. No Henry Parrish, no Jackson Dart, no Trey Harris, no problem. Second touchdown of the season for Ulysses Bentley, the 4th. And here's Caden Davis to add the extra point. How impressive was Austin Simmons, not just the passing, but managing the tempo.
What an answer by the Ole Miss Rebels. 10 plays, 75 yards, a 3rd down conversion, a 4th down conversion, and the Rebels answer as Bentley looks on.
The SEC on ABC is presented by Burger King. You rule.
Ulysses Bentley, the 4th, the touchdown capping a 10-play drive. Austin Simmons led the Ole Miss Rebels down the field. They haven't lost their explosiveness without Trey Harris, without Jackson Dart, without Henry Parrish. 5 of those 10 plays on the drive went for 10 yards or more. And talk to Kirby Smart about the Ole Miss offense. That's the first word he used, explosive. Caden Davis, ordinarily a touchback kicker. I don't know if he slipped on the kickoff, but he squibs it down the field and mishandled for a moment by Cash Jones. They're without their usual return man, Anthony Evans. And Georgia's going to start inside the 15-yard line. Time for our player check-in presented by Allstate.
How about the redshirt freshman, Austin Simmons? Come off the bench, young fella. Go against the number 2 team in the land. Who cares? How about the 4th down conversion, hitting Caden Lee? No problem whatsoever. This is a thing of beauty right here. Look at him thread the needle against zone coverage. Perfectly placed, and then they pay it off a moment later with the Bentley touchdown right up the middle. Just a terrific response after the early turnover with their quarterback in the locker room.
Second possession for Georgia. The first one was at the plus 21-yard line after the interception by Dan Jackson. They went 7 plays to score the opening touchdown of the game. Flags down. Nifty run by ETN. Shifty maneuvering.
Illegal formation. Offense.
Well, it's coming back for the first penalty of the game assessed against either team. We mentioned the slow starts. They have 7 already, but that's set up by the defense. They've scored under 14 points per game in first halves this season. Only Kentucky, Auburn, and Mississippi State, 3 of the worst teams in the SEC this year, faring worse in first half scoring. Nate Frazier banged down at the 11-yard line. He got 2. Here are today's impact players presented by the Home Depot.
There's so many great players, it's almost tough to pick them. Trevor Etienne, the running back, he's going to get a lot of looks today. Arian Smith, their best wide receiver, great top end speed. The pass rush provided by Princely Umanmiel, the transfer from Florida, working against the left tackle. And then Chris Paul, an eraser at the second level. One of the best linebackers in the country, is going to be huge today for this Rebels defense.
Second down and 13, and Cash Jones dropped for a loss. Xavier Harris, part of the deep and talented Ole Miss front that leads the country in tackles for a loss.
And he's working against right guard Tate Ratledge, who's been a little bit banged up. He goes right around him. Ratledge returned last week, but did not look anywhere near 100%. And this athleticism of Ole Miss's defense is going to be a handful if this defensive line doesn't handle it.
Third down and 15. Bag. Broken up. Trying to get it to Dylan Bell. Jaden Kennedy knocked it away. And that's an encouraging start for the Ole Miss defense, as they've been struggling to find somebody to play corner opposite Trey Amos.
And Kennedy anticipated having to defend a lot of passes today. He is the guy that most offenses view as the weak link. It's been challenged multiple times, hasn't always risen to the occasion, but that time right there on a 3rd and long, he breaks it up to force the punt.
So here's Brett Thorson. The Australians had a terrific year, averaging 47 yards per punt out of the end zone and up into the mist. Fair catch made by Micah Davis at midfield. Looks like Jackson Dart's going to return. This is Veterans Week on ABC, presented by USAA.
Rebels quarterback Jackson Dart taking the field right now. He limped onto the field with his left ankle heavily taped. He immediately ran to his helmet on the sideline, put it on, started throwing the football and threw well, but he is walking with a noticeable limp. And you can tell he's in pain, trying to tough it out, but he patted Austin Simmons on the back as if to say, good job, but I got this. So Dart doing everything he can to get back out onto the field, guys.
Well, he's their guy, Greg. That's kind of hard to give Simmons the hook. Charlie Weiss Jr., the offense coordinator and quarterback coach, but Jackson Dart's the man.
He's the one that got you here. He's the one that's kind of built this thing to where it's at right now. But my goodness, Simmons looked good and in rhythm on that first drive.
Dart throws, open receiver, Daquan Wright, another first down, another double-digit yardage play, 13 on the completion to Wright.
And Ole Miss wants to play this game with quick game by getting the ball out quick and getting it on the perimeter. If the game's played between the tackles, they lose, but if they can play it with their wide receivers, they're in good shape.
Caden Lee was the motion man. Nice catch. Caden Prieskorn, another tight end, back in action after he played only 1 snap at Arkansas due to injury, and they're on the move again. 25-yard gain, 7 plays of double digits of the 15 Ole Miss has run so far.
I like the aggressiveness by Charlie Weiss, the offensive coordinator. Some misdirection. They utilized a little bit of run. They're getting the ball out of their quarterback's hands very quickly as well.
Rashad Amos, who's had just 8 carries all year, is the running back. He gets the call and gets a couple. He played earlier in his career at South Carolina. And Lane Kiffin said he's a bigger body and you need big backs against this big, strong Georgia defense. He's 6'1", 235 pounds. Dart to the sideline, corner of the end zone for Juice Wells. Julian Humphrey had the coverage. 3rd down and 8, Ole Miss.
Just does not look right now like Jackson Dart's getting through any of his throws. That left foot, that left ankle, it's hard to transition your weight from right to left. So keep an eye and see if these balls continue to sail high, because you can't follow through. That's where the miss will be.
Bentley back in at running back. He scored the Ole Miss touchdown on their last possession. Option pitch to him. He has some running room. What a nifty move to get a couple. But he did not get to the 1st down marker. KJ Bolden there, the freshman, to take him out. And the field goal team will come on for Lane Kiffin with 3.5 minutes to go in an entertaining 1st quarter.
It's been a really nice start from Ole Miss's offense after the turnover. The response to the early adversity has been tremendous, but that one felt like a big moment there for Georgia. They had terrible field position. Ole Miss got it around the 50, and they're holding them to 3 points.
23-yard try for Davis, a transfer from Texas A&M in his 2nd year here. It's good, and Ole Miss leads for the first time today, 10-7. Well, Jackson Dart last week in the win at Arkansas set the school record for total offense, 562 yards. He broke a record that had lasted for 55 years. The great Archie Manning, 540 yards of total offense back in 1969 at Alabama. The first nationally televised game in SEC history at night was on ABC, one of the great games in college football history. Archie ran for 3, passed for 2, but there was Scott Hunter with the game-winning touchdown. He threw for 300. Alabama won by a point. Archie's here today. The SEC Player of the Year that season. He threw for 436, ran for 104 that day. He said he had 5,000 pieces of mail. That's really when he became, a nationally known and very popular figure around the country. Scott Hunter told a great story in an SEC story segment. He said, I don't know how many pieces of mail I got. I didn't get many, but one that I still have was a handwritten note from Archie Manning congratulating me on my performance. Archie, all class his entire life. One of the great figures in the history of football. A couple other fun sidelights though. The game started at 9:30 Eastern time. Lawrence Welk had a non-preemption clause, so his show went on. There's the note that Archie wrote. You saw Bear Bryant on the sideline. Scott Hunter mentioned they were on the visitor sideline. Bear Bryant, even though it was the first nationally televised game, knew the cameras point at that sideline. We're going over on that sideline. But Lawrence Welk, he was not going to get preempted. So the game started at 9:30 Eastern time. Still one of the all-time classics.
You don't just move Lawrence Welk off 9:30. You just can't do that.
How about a record that lasted 55 years and Archie putting up those kinds of numbers in an era when they didn't throw the ball around like they do today. Trevor Etienne tripped up. By the way, how about our ABC lineup in 1969? Lawrence Welk was preceded by F Troop, the dating game, and the newlywed game.
Well, I mean,
I wouldn't preempt any of those.
I'm about to say, I mean, SEC football can wait. We have to watch what goes on in the dating game. I mean, come on.
From the 29, Nate Frazier, the running back. And he gets stood up after a 1-yard gain. This is nothing new for Georgia. Even though they're 7-1, they keep having to come from behind. Since the start of last season, this is now the 13th time in their last 16 conference games that they have trailed at least 1 point. They're 13-2 in those games.
They have not been great on 3rd down this year. Kirby Smart's offense, they love to get in 3rd and manageable like this, but even this down and distance has been a challenge. They usually look in the direction, though, of Dominic Lovick. He's their go-to guy on 3rd down.
Last year, they were 55% on 3rd down, leading the nation. And a whistle before the snap with the play clock running down.
seconds to play clock running out. Post-charge timeout. Georgia. 30 seconds.
This year, that third down number for Georgia on offense just 38%, 90th in the country. It's been a problem. There are the college football playoff rankings brought to you by Allstate. Ohio State already a winner against Purdue. No surprise there. Miami, kind of been living a charmed life all year. They held on to win Virginia Tech in a controversial ending. Way down at Cal, rallied to win that one, but I'm really not that surprised that a good Georgia Tech team knocked them off today.
Yeah, on the road, early start, but that Miami team, they got a ton of firepower, but man, that offense was really held in check today by a stingy Georgia Tech defense.
Third down and 4. Cash Jones, the running back. Ole Miss doesn't blitz much. They get pressure with 4. They rush 4. They move back. He throws. Landon Humphreys, good catch, and then it came out when he got blasted by John Saunders Jr.
This has been a problem for Georgia receivers. Drops. The ball is a little bit wet, and it's a perfect collision by John Saunders. One that you would think Humphrey would be able to reel in, but he can't because the helmet initiates that contact and dislodges the football. It's just a perfect defensive play there by Saunders.
Forcing to punt again. That one's better. Micah Davis. A hard-earned 2 yards on the return. The 48-yard punt. 25 drops for Georgia. A lot of heat on Carson Beck, but that certainly doesn't help. Only UAB has dropped more among all FBS teams.
Yeah, and considering the talent they have in their receiver corps, it's really inexcusable. And you can actually point to several drops early in the game that really disrupt the confidence that Carson Beck has played with. So we'll see if he handles it better today. But you see, he starts to press when the receivers drop passes early.
So it's Jackson Dart's turn again. Total yards are 114 to 27 in favor of Ole Miss. The fake to Bennett. Here comes a blitz. They check it down to Ulysses Bennett. Started his college career at SMU. And he's knocked down at the 30, but a quality gain of 7. Jonel Aguero plays their star position, made the tackle.
It's really important for Jackson Dart to continue to be mindful of how good this pass rush is. You're in a nice rhythm offensively because you're getting rid of the football. He's got to continue to get it out quick.
Under a minute to go in the quarter. Wide open Bentley in the middle of the field. And down at the 39-yard line of Georgia. 31 more for Ole Miss.
And this is just a bust. You're going to see number 3, that's C.J. Allen. He just completely loses track of where the running back is, and he's out the gate.
Dart on the balky ankle. Sends it out wide to Bentley. Gets shoved out of bounds by C.J. Allen at the 32. It was 1 year ago Allen made his first start for Kirby Smart against Ole Miss after Jamon Dumas Johnson broke his arm the week before against Missouri. And Allen's become a stalwart. That's the end of the first quarter. ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Coach, your quarterback Jackson Dart playing with a noticeable limp. What kind of toughness have you seen from him?
Well, he's really tough. Austin Simmons did a great job coming in. Jackson obviously got hurt and then threw the interception, put ourselves in a bad spot, and we've played well since. So we've got a lot of time to go here, and we've got to keep playing really good defense and stay balanced like we are right now and take advantage of checks versus their pressures like the last one.
Thanks, Coach.
Lane Kiffin looking for his first victory over AP Top 5 team in his 5 years as head coach here. 0-4 in those matchups. Jackson Dart is the quarterback. They're on the move again to start the second quarter, leading 10-7, 2nd and 3 at the Georgia 32. And Dart will be marked down short of the first down. 1-11 is Lane's record overall against the top 5 when you count his other stops at Tennessee and USC and FAU. So I heard Paul Feinbaum talking about the other day, kind of comparing him to James Franklin.
Yeah.
You know, you win a lot, but now the knock is, can you win the big one?
Yeah, and I don't think he's ever had the personnel to do it. This year, made wholesale changes to how they attacked the line of scrimmage and recruiting and the portal as well. So this is a more capable team than ever before.
J.J. Pegues is on the field. But, well, he's more than 300 pounds. It is that little creature that has brought about a delay.
I feel like you should do a Kevin Harlan impression here and call him if he takes off to the end zone here. You know?
Kevin is Hall of Fame good at that and everything else that he does as well. So we'll leave that to him, one of the all-time greats in our business.
The Georgia players are running away from him.
Terrorizing the Georgia sideline right now. And you go up against 300-pounders and it doesn't bother you, but a little squirrel has you scampering out of the way. And I think if you're Ole Miss, you really don't like this delay. You have everything going your way. You have Georgia on its heels. And they're about, it seems, to hand the ball to big number 38, J.J. Pegues, starting defensive lineman, who also comes in on offense. And he hasn't been stopped yet. He's scored 6 touchdowns and has picked up first downs on the other 5. So he's 11 for 11 in these situations, short yardage and goal line.
We're knocking on wood. For those Ole Miss fans are saying that there's going to be an announcer curse here. We're knocking on wood.
And a direct snap to him, and there he goes. He is super athletic at 315 pounds, and they think he can break one. They're not just looking for a 1-yard gain. He almost broke that one.
And a great job, too, on the end of the line of scrimmage. Daquan Wright, number 8, securing the edge and allowing the big fella to get to the perimeter.
He's from right here in Oxford. They call him the mayor of Oxford. First down, Ole Miss. Play fake, Jackson Dart, and then the dump down, and Bentley's dumped down for a loss back at the 28-yard line by Raylan Wilson. 7-yard loss on the play.
Through a big loss on first down, and now you're sitting in 2nd and long. Jackson Dart has to understand the situation. You try to get half of it back to make sure that you can make 3rd down more manageable. So try to get 8 or 9 yards on the quick throw here.
2 minutes gone by, 2nd quarter. It all Ole Miss since the opening turnover that led to the Georgia touchdown. Dart's pass incomplete, looking for Jordan Watkins. With Dalen Everett in coverage, a 2-year starter at corner for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Big thing here on 3rd and long. Got to get the ball out quick. You cannot take a sack if you're Jackson Dart, because then you run the risk of potentially being knocked out of field goal range. So ball has to come out against a really aggressive pass rush.
Dart was sacked only 1 time while setting their passing record last week at Arkansas. Conservative play call on 3rd and 17, a run for Ulysses Bentley. Chris Cole, the freshman, made the tackle. He's been seeing more action in the absence of the veteran Smile Munden, who's been out with a foot injury. So here comes Caden Davis, 1 for 1 today, and now 16 out of 19 for the year. He did slip on a kickoff. The rain continues to fall. High snap. And the kick still good. From 43 yards out. Good job by the holder, Charlie Pollock. There's the Taco Bell Live Más student section. All season long, student sections around the country competing to be the Taco Bell Live Más student section of the year. Download the Taco Bell app to learn more. Ole Miss school of about 25,000 undergraduates. Its enrollment going up. Its football team leading 13-7. Georgia capitalized on a short field after Dan Jackson interception. Go 21 yards in their first drive and score the first points of the game. Ole Miss has dominated since. Short kickoff by Caden Davis and a fair catch made by Dylan Bell. We said this is an elimination game for Ole Miss. If they don't win tonight, almost certainly out of the playoff picture. And Greg, tonight's Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One. Most feel that's an elimination game for the loser of that. Both have 2 losses. Alabama and LSU both 6-2. Saturday Night Magic in Baton Rouge, and Brian Kelly still undefeated under the lights at home.
Yeah, it's a brutal place to go play, but we saw a couple weeks ago this Ole Miss team go down there and really have about 6 or 7 chances to secure that victory, and they couldn't do it.
So here's Carson Beck. 2 out of 4 passing so far. And on target to Lawson Lucky, the tight end, out to the 39-yard line. 14 yards and a first down.
So much has been made of Carson Beck and just how many mistakes he's made in the passing game. There's been several, but it already looks like today he's playing with good rhythm. Looks like his feet are underneath him. He's getting the ball out quickly, but the big plays that Ole Miss continues to create are going to be a problem for Georgia.
First double-digit play on offense for Georgia. The toss to Nate Frazier. He got knocked down at the 42. Molly?
Well, Carson Beck in a rhythm today. He told us he realizes putting too much pressure on himself to be the hero, make something big happen every play, saying, I dissected every mistake I've made lately and realized I need to be more intentional on early downs. I've been treating 1st and 10 like it's 4th and 2. I need to just take a breath and play with less desperation. And you see he's doing that so far today, guys.
5th-year senior. 2nd-year starter, waited a couple of years behind Stetson Bennett. And very near a first down is Nate Frazier.
Sometimes when you're a top guy like Carson Beck was, it's understandable that people expect you to make every throw look easy, and that's just not the case. He's got to take what the defense gives him, and today he's been really good with his decision making.
On 3rd and short, Frazier looks like he got the first down. If it's the mark from the official on the far side of the field you see running in, and it is a first down. Frazier powerfully built at 210 pounds.
It looked like he just continued to churn ahead, and Frazier's going to be really big time here in no time whatsoever. He's got a lot of speed.
Carson Beck fires, the throw altered by the rush. Arian Smith, the intended receiver.
And just unblocked right around the edge is son Taryn Perkins, who's one of the fastest guys on this Ole Miss football team. He arrives just early enough to affect how accurate Carson Beck was delivering that football, but it didn't look like he touched him, so the ball might have just came out of his hand a little awkward.
On 2nd and 10, he's pressured and taken down. Back at the 39-yard line by Jared Ivey.
And Ivey working against Tate Ratledge, who we told you earlier, just his 2nd game back from the injured ankle. He's missed a ton of time, and he hasn't looked anywhere near 100%. That's twice now that Ole Miss has matched up one-on-one against the right guard, and they've gotten home in both different occasions.
42nd sack of the year for Ole Miss, the first today. They lead the nation in that category. 3rd down at 18. Beck running away from the rush, and a late flag thrown. The pass nowhere near a Georgia Bulldog, but there's a flag thrown in the secondary. And this would be a huge break for Georgia if they convert a 3rd down and 18 with the help of a penalty.
Holding, number 5 against the defense.
John Saunders holding Lawson Lucky. It's a heavily penalized Ole Miss team, and this one really hurts.
This is massive. I mean, you're going to see Lawson Lucky try to work inside, and Saunders just really doesn't do anything to get out of the way. I mean, he just grabs him, doesn't let Lucky cross face, and it's an easy call for the official, and just a terrible penalty for Ole Miss. They have given opposing offenses, that's their 28th first down awarded because of a defensive penalty, among the highest in the nation. You just can't do that on 3rd and long.
Huge break for Georgia. Frazier in trouble. Stayed on his feet and turned a 2-yard loss into a gain of 5. Ole Miss has been penalized 86 yards per game. Only Liberty and UTSA see more penalty yardage per game stepped off against them than have the Rebels. Under 9 minutes to go, first half, 13-7 Ole Miss. Frazier collared and yanked back after he got a yard. Chris Paul, nicknamed Pooh, what you hear the fans chanting, made the tackle. Georgia native, transferred from Arkansas.
And 3rd down and 4 for Georgia here. Not a very good down and distance for them this year. They are just 27% conversion on 4th and 4 to 6. That's 125th in the country. But when they go, they always look in the direction, almost always look in the direction of Dominic Lovett, number 6. That's their go-to guy on 3rd down.
3rd down and 4. Bunch to the left of Beck. Play clock under 5. Out wide it goes to Lovett, and he's dropped for a loss. John Saunders again. And the punt team comes on for the 3rd time already for the Dogs.
And a great job by John Saunders. Ole Miss shows a pressure look, which forces Carson Beck to make a check. Gets the ball out of his hands quickly, but Saunders was prepared. He wins to the outside and drops Lovett for the 3rd down stop.
So Brett Thorson with Micah Davis back deep. End over end, Davis lets it go. And it goes out of bounds at the 1. Arian Smith was there to catch it, but he slipped. And Georgia actually benefited from that. He would have caught it around the 2. Instead, the ball is out of bounds inside the 1, although the officials conferring they may move it a yard or 2. 44-yard punt, we think. 13-7 Ole Miss.
The SEC on ABC, presented by Burger King, is brought to you by USAA. Let's honor those who served this Veterans Day.
This week we honor all of America's heroes. A heartfelt thank you to all of our active military and veterans. And to the veterans on our team, you saw back in their younger days, Paul Bush, Ron Haley, Ron Parker, David Wright. Thank you, gentlemen. And we should not leave out Bill Lamagnier, our rules expert, Army veteran. Thank you, Bill. Ole Miss has to be careful here inside the 1 after the punt. Rain continues to fall. Wet ball. Both teams practice the wet ball drills during the week. Dominic Thomas has come in at running back. Jackson Dart under duress just did get it off. An incomplete pass intended for Juice Wells with Daniel Harris in coverage.
When you're backed up in a situation like this, the offense always utilizes a hard count. You see, if you can't get that defense to jump into the neutral zone, then you get a free play and potentially a free 5 yards. And then if you jump off sides, who cares? You lose 1 inch. Doesn't make a difference. So go on the hard count here.
Thomas remains the running back, has to get out of the end zone. And he just barely did, back across the line of scrimmage and not much more. Thomas in his first year here. Transferred in late. He was at Georgia State in the spring. They had a coaching change. He decided to go back in the portal and provide some depth at running back for Ole Miss. 3rd down and 10. The Rebels 2 out of 6 on 3rd down. Dart throws. Jordan Watkins, first down, bounces off would-be tacklers and goes down at the 18-yard line. Raylan Wilson finally knocked him down. They get 17, a huge 3rd down conversion.
Really nice, accurate throw there from Jackson Dart. And how about Watkins showing off the speed?
They send Thomas out widest to the left. 5 receivers, 3 to Jackson Dart's left. Watkins breaks free again. Jordan Watkins down at the Georgia 49. He had 5 touchdowns last week. 2 of them were more than 60 yards. That's 33 more yards for Ole Miss.
And they are doing a great job just picking apart an excellent secondary. But at some point, this Georgia pass rush has to get home. Dart has a lot of time to operate in the backfield.
It's an improved offensive line. And they scheme very well to get the ball out as quickly as they can. Ulysses Bentley back in at running back now. They marked it at the 50-yard line. Bentley stood up by Malachi Starks. Chaz Chambliss at the bottom of the pile. 5-yard gain. Starks a great safety. Just named one of the 16 semifinalists for the Jim Thorpe Award as the best defensive back in the country.
He does an amazing job back there, the signal caller, and not a guy that you want to target in coverage.
Pressure brought by Glenn Schumann. Juice Wells. Chaz Chambliss had him tied up down low. It's 6 yards and another Rebels first down.
And this is a spot on the field where Lane Kiffin and offense coordinator Charlie Weiss, they like to go with a big protection, heavy play action, and take a shot downfield. Plus territory, on the move, defense on their heels just a little bit. Let's see if they try and take a big shot downfield here.
Charlie Weiss Jr., the 31-year-old offensive coordinator, calls the plays with some input from Lane Kiffin. Dart on the injured ankle. It took him out of the game early. If you're just tuning in, he went to the locker room to get his ankle taped. Nazir Stackhouse took him down after a 3-yard gain.
Can't imagine Georgia's too concerned about Jackson Dart tearing him up with his legs today, given that left ankle. So if I were them, I would just take away the outside and dare Jackson Dart to run it.
If Jordan Watkins, a wide receiver in the backfield, that pass is incomplete, intended for Daquan Wright. When we talked with Lane Kiffin yesterday and Charlie Weiss, they said without Henry Parrish Jr., they still want to run the ball, and they particularly want to get the ball outside. So they told us they would use Watkins, who has not carried the ball all year, as a running back and try to get him outside. He has great speed, fastest man on the team. As he admitted to you when you asked him yesterday. You asked Jordan, you the fastest man on the team? He said yes, without hesitation.
We had to really twist his arm to get that answer from him.
3rd down and 7. Design quarterback draw from Dart. They must think his ankle is more than good enough. Didn't really get anything there. A yard and that's it. And on 4th down and 7, Lane Kiffin, who leans heavily on analytics, has the offense still on the field.
I think that 3rd down play call with the quarterback run was an indicator that they were going for it here on 4th down. But Jackson Dart doesn't look healthy. You got to find a matchup on the outside that you like. And in this spot, I like working the slot up top.
Watkins, ordinarily a wide receiver, is the running back.
Tight end against number 3 linebacker. I'd take advantage of that. Oh, they just adjusted, so Starks will be on it.
And Starks comes on a blitz. And whistles stop the play. Dart took a hit after the whistle sounded, and Lane Kiffin all the way out beyond the numbers to scream at the officials.
Was kind of a big hit too by Warren Brinson.
Prior to the delay game foul, timeout. Ole Miss.
Because the officials didn't administer that very well, Dart took a hit. 3 minutes to go in the half. You're watching the SEC on ABC. Huge game in the Southeastern Conference. Georgia, one of 5 5 teams with 1 loss atop the SEC standing starting today. After the timeout, Lane Kiffin's decided to send on Caden Davis. We'll try a 53-yarder. The little breeze there is at his back. He has a big leg. You'll remember he made a 57-yarder at LSU in overtime. Already connected from 43 with plenty of room to spare. Plenty of leg into that one. Look out in Tupelo. These kickers are so good. And Lane Kiffin made the right decision.
Much better snap this time. Perfect hold. And my goodness, you said Tupelo, Memphis, anything just right up the highway. That thing had a lot of room as it sneaks inside that left upright.
Transfer from Texas A&M as Davis got a degree there in supply chain management, prestigious degree, and he's going to have his MBA from Ole Miss in December. So impressive drive. They started at their own 1. They got out of the hole from the 1 on that big 3rd down. Wound up holding it for 10 plays. So Georgia, another sluggish start on offense. We noted they've been one of the worst first half teams in the SEC. And their 7 points were set up on a very short field by the defense. So Davis will kick off. Cash Jones is back deep. Again, no Anthony Evans this week with a hamstring injury. Ordinarily their kickoff and punt return. And no chance for Cash Jones. Time for the Aflac trivia question. Ole Miss is 1-24 all time against AP top 2 teams. Georgia's number 2 in the AP poll this week. What was the lone win?
I know this one.
Well, don't blurt it out.
I will not. I will not do that.
Answered after the play. 2:55 to go. Georgia with 2 timeouts here in the first half. That 1-24 record, by the way, is one of the worst of all time, as you might imagine. The only way that could be worse is if they had 0 wins. How about that for deductive reasoning? Syracuse very proud. Beck zings 1. A little bit behind Dylan Bell, but he made a nice catch. 15 yards and a first down. You'll remember this. Why do you remember it? It was against your alma mater at Alabama in 2015.
Remember it all too well. I could probably tell you play by play just how that game went, but a wild back and forth game.
That's the answer to the Aflac trivia question. It was a 43-37 win. Chad Kelly threw for 341 and 3 touchdowns. That was in Tuscaloosa. Quick screen to Dominic Lovett, and the Dogs are on the move to the Rebel 48 with a 13-yard gain.
See if they get a snap off before the 2-minute timeout. It's not looking likely, though. Good start to this drive. See if Georgia can kind of inject some life into the offense here to create some momentum.
2-minute timeout. Ole Miss leading 16-7. You're watching the SEC on ABC, presented by Burger King. Tuesday on ESPN, the 14th annual State Farm Champions Classic tips off. Number 1 Kansas takes on Michigan State at 6:30. After that game, Reese, Greg, and the gang. Greg getting a lot of billing here. We'll have the reveal of the 2nd edition of the College Football Playoff Top 25 rankings, and after that, more basketball. Number 7 Duke, number 23 Kentucky. I thought you were fabulous the other night.
That is very kind. I appreciate that.
Only big news of the night on this past Tuesday. So 1st and 10, Georgia on the move to the Rebels 48, down by 9. Trevor Etienne for about 3. Only mentioned one of the big games in stadium history, and it's an attendance record here at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. 68,126. Enduring a steady rain. They have enjoyed what they have seen so far.
And a terrific start, but Georgia trying to cash in here at the end to see if they can't spoil what's been a terrific first half.
Back throws incomplete. Trying to get it to Ben Urosic, the transfer from Stanford.
Looked like Saunders might have gotten a piece of this. They tried to work a little pump wheel, really open there for a second, but it looked like Saunders might have just gotten a little bit of it. He does to deflect it, and Urosic can't reel it in.
3rd down and 6. There are 2 out of 6 on 3rd down, perhaps 4 down territory for Kirby Smart. Cash Jones went out in motion. Back goes down. Back at the 47-yard line. Princely Umanmielen for a 9-yard sack.
And this is a matchup that Ole Miss thought they could take advantage of. Umanmielen works right around the left tackle, Ernest Green. There's really nothing Carson Beck can do but secure the football. And Ole Miss, this is why they went to the portal and brought in these stars along the defensive line for moments like that. And that time Umanmielen makes them pay.
And Ole Miss has called a timeout. They want another possession. Why not? Here's Kevin Nagandi.
Sean, Capital One halftime report coming your way. Booger McFarland, Kevin Nagandi here with you. The very latest with Miami going down. Reaction. Mario Cristobal disappointed as they suffer their first loss of the season. Ole Miss's defense shining. What must they do right now?
No doubt. Ole Miss's defense has been dominating the game. The pass rush so far. They got to get some points right here as far as at the end of this half because Georgia gets the ball to start the second half.
16 unanswered points for the Rebels so far. Back to you, Sean.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. So here's Brett Thorson. It's a punt on 4th and 14. End over end, Micah Davis, a fair catch at the 13-yard line. Davis had a 2-yard punt return earlier this year. It's the only one of Thorson's punts this year that has been returned for positive yardage. Well, it started well for Georgia. Dan Jackson an interception, which gave Georgia a short field, 21 yards. They scored a touchdown, but they've punted 4 times since. And after that rough start, which included Jackson Dart turning his ankle, going to the locker room for medical attention, the backup Austin Simmons led them down the field for the first score. Dart returned and wouldn't know he was injured. A little surprised they've run him a couple of times.
Yeah, they probably run him 3 or 4 times, and so far not a whole lot going there. So they're going to have to find something in the run game in the second half.
Ulysses Bentley in trouble and dropped behind the line of scrimmage by the terrific linebacker Jalen Walker. He's just been named a semifinalist for the Butkus Award as the best linebacker in the country.
He's been just a little bit quiet today too. I mean, he's a guy that can take over the game if you let him, but Ole Miss done a great job of getting the ball out, and the offensive line's done a really nice job of protecting.
Neither team used the timeout there. You can understand why Ole Miss wouldn't now. With the lead, their own 9-yard line. Wet conditions. Bentley again got away from Dan Jackson, ran out of bounds at the 14-yard line. And that could be a break for Georgia here, because if Lane Kiffin's team doesn't pick up the first down, I would think Kirby Smart would use a timeout, make them punt.
Absolutely, especially in wet, sloppy conditions. Force the ball handling by the snapper and punter. That was a big mistake there by Bentley. Going out of bounds and stopping the clock.
Third down and 9. Bentley again trying to go up the gut. Jalen Walker was there, and now Kirby Smart will use one of his 2 remaining timeouts. Yeah, Bentley, that was a mistake, because now when Georgia gets the ball back here, assuming that they do after a punt, they also have a timeout to use.
Nice.
And they have a field goal kicker with a big leg, and Peyton Woodring.
Potentially a massive mistake, because that last timeout now can be used for the kicker. So instead of having to work the sidelines, now you can work the whole field once Georgia retains possession here after the punt. So big mistake there, and one that could be very costly.
Malachi Starks was the punt returner last week, All-American safety. More than anything, they just wanted to catch the punts. But they basically had tryouts at their practices after Evans went down. Starks the choice. Fraser Mazin is the punter. Like Thorson of Georgia, he's an Australian, and that's a boomer. What a great punt. Still bouncing. Long and time consuming. And the officials blow it dead with 2 seconds to go. But Bentley has to feel a lot better after Mazin bombed that punt.
That was massive too, and smart by Ole Miss getting away from it.
Sideline warning against Ole Miss. This is their first warning.
And they erupted as soon as they saw that ball come off Mazin's foot, but that was a smart job too at the end, not touching the ball and blowing it dead to allow a couple extra seconds to tick off.
65-yard punt by Mazin. His longest of the season by 1 yard.
Probably the most animated I've seen an Ole Miss sideline after a punt in the Lane Kiffin era.
Yeah, that was big. Now no chance for Georgia to try to take advantage. Bentley relieved undoubtedly. Well, Georgia keeps coming from behind. They're 15 and 12 under Kirby when trailing at the half. (16-7), really total domination by Ole Miss. And here's Molly with Kirby.
Coach, what are they doing to challenge your offense?
Snap count pretty good. They got really good defensive players, okay? At the end of the day, you got to be able to run the ball enough to keep them honest so they can't pass rush like that. Pin their ears back.
What do you need to see from your defense, especially against those explosive plays?
Get some turnovers. You know, we're holding the field goals. We're not giving up the plays in the red area. We got to do a good job getting the ball off of them. We got to affect the quarterback a little better. They're doing a good job of getting the ball out.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Our score at halftime, Ole Miss 16, Georgia 7. We'll send you to the studio for the Capital One halftime report after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
You're watching Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
And you're watching the SEC on ABC, presented by Burger King. A record crowd of more than 68,000 on a rainy day here in Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss in what is really an elimination game with an eye toward the 12-team college football playoff, leading Georgia as we head to the second half, 16-7. Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy, and nothing on offense for Georgia. I think this Ole Miss defense is legit. They went to the portal because this team destroyed them last year in Athens, and the talent level is noticeably different and better.
It's not even close. Last year, this Georgia team ran for 300 yards against Ole Miss, so very different performance so far from the Ole Miss defense. And I think it's going to be imperative for Georgia to get back to running the football a little bit. They've been able to tee off this Ole Miss front, has an obvious passing situation, so they got to run the football and take some of the pressure off the passing game, because right now the receivers aren't really getting open against the secondary.
Caden Davis kicked off. He had 3 field goals in the first half. That's the difference in the game. His kickoff is a touchback, and here's Molly McGrath.
Well, Sean, Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin acknowledged that Georgia is a strong second half team, but said it's not about them. It is about us and the way that we've handled adversity today, especially with all of this rain. With Jackson Dart's injury, our team is stepping up, but he stressed the importance for their defense to stop any big explosive plays, especially on this drive, saying we can tell and we can feel that Georgia is getting frustrated, so we need to limit them on this drive to keep control of this game. Guys.
Carson Beck under center. 6 out of 10 passing for 49 yards. He was sacked twice. Trevor Etienne, the running back, they faked the toss to him, and the throw is on target to Landon Humphreys for a first down just across the 40-yard line, with Chris Graves in coverage for Ole Miss.
The number receiver downfield, number 84.
Didn't see a flag, but there was one, obviously, and it's been Jurasic who's flagged.
And they shifted Jurasic from the right to the left, and it looked like Arian Smith tried to get off the ball but didn't get off enough, so was covering up Jurasic to the inside, making him ineligible. So a critical mistake wipes out a nice gain on first down.
And a penalty-free game. That's just the second against Georgia. And Ole Miss, a heavily penalized team, committed only one in the first half. Beck given a clean pocket, throws, caught in traffic. Dylan Bell made the catch with Trey Washington, the safety right there for the Rebels. Comes up just shy of the first down at the 34-yard line.
And that's the type of throw I want to see from Carson Beck, not just the rest of this game, but the rest of this season. Strong, decisive, accurate, tight coverage, and he paints it on his wide receiver. That's the guy we saw last year that made him the top prospect coming into the season at quarterback by Mel Kiper.
Really has everything you want, including the size, 6'4", 220, arm strength. More accurate last year than he was this year. Cash Jones carries for the first down. Walter Nolan, another one of those transfers brought over to beef up the defense, made the tackle for Texas A&M. For the beginning of the year, he was number 1 on Mel Kiper's big board among quarterbacks, and number 8 overall. He's going to be a top 10 first-round pick. Now he's the number 6 quarterback, and not in Mel's top 25 overall on the big board. Mel is a third-round grade for him. I would think with his skill set, he'll go before the third round.
I think this is about as low as he'll go. If he can start stringing together good performances, he'll be in good shape.
Before the snap, ball start, offense, number 57, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Monroe Freeling, who's been seeing some action at right tackle for Georgia in recent games, flinched.
And he's now in because they decided to move the starting right tackle, Xavier Truss, down to right guard because Tate Ratledge, the starting right guard, has been struggling today. So Freeling goes in, makes a critical mistake, and they're 1st and 15 again.
Ratledge and then Micah Morris, who replaced Ratledge when he was out with an injury, have both been banged up lately at right guard, so they're down to their third with Truss shifting over. Already 2 Georgia penalties. They had won the entire first half. Catch and run. Lawson Lucky lunges across the line to gain and has a Georgia first down for the 16-yard pickup.
And this is misdirection. This is a very aggressive Ole Miss defense. So what can kind of slow that down? Fake to the right, throw back to the left, and Lucky has some space out in front. They're going to continue to use misdirection. They've done it now 3 times here to start the second half. Fake to pitch to the left, roll to the right. That time fake to throw to the right, throw the shallow to the left. They're going to have to keep this defense guessing.
Arian Smith, who can fly, the motion man. Here's Dylan Bell leaping over his own man, Monroe Freeling, and he has a first down to the 39-yard line with a 12-yard pickup.
Rinse and repeat, more misdirection. Fake the run to the right, hand it around to the left, and you're off and running. Watch just how much flow you see from those powder blue jerseys. That time all the way from right to left. This is such an aggressive group. They're a very athletic group, but they can sometimes be caught in an undisciplined situation. And now here, that's multiple times in this first drive of the second half for Mike Bobo, where he's been able to kind of catch them off guard.
Beck given plenty of time. Throws. Cash Jones open. First down. Out of bounds near the 10. They sent Jones in motion out of the backfield. And it was Princely Emanuelin, the defensive end, who was running in coverage with Jones.
Yeah, that's not the matchup you want. If you're the defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, get a running back that's working against a defensive end, that's the peel with him. Beck was late getting to him, but he got him there just in time. And he got him there just a bit earlier, it would have been a touchdown.
6 play of the drive upcoming. Play fake to Nate Frazier, and the pass incomplete, intended for Jurasic. So they have 65 yards on this opening drive of the second half. They had 69 the entire first half. Already 4 plays of 10+ on this drive. They had 3 in the first half for Mike Bobo.
Anticipate them as the field now is starting to condense. If you can get some quick catch and runs, quick throws, that's fine. I'd lean on the run game here. They've had success in this part of the field earlier in the game.
Nate Frazier, the running back. Dominic Lovett, the motion man. They do run it with Frazier. Tough run. He spins down to the 5-yard line. They're going to mark it at the 6. Trey Washington made the tackle. 4-yard run for the freshman Frazier. There's an injured Ole Miss Rebel, and it's J.J. Pegues. And the crowd very silent with Pegues down and with Georgia on the move. J.J. Pegues walking off gingerly, and that's live. He was down the entire commercial timeout. Got hit by his own man here at the end of the play, Walter Nolan.
Yeah, awkwardly too, and his head just kind of gets yanked to the side there as the collision went down. And they were looking at kind of his neck area, so really glad to see him walking off under his own power.
Literally a huge loss. Middle of that defensive front that's been excellent all day. Where's the number 38? It's an honor of the late Chucky Mullins. Of course, he's a key component of the short yardage offense as well. So here's 3rd and goal. It's been a nice drive for Georgia. They're at the Ole Miss 7. Best drive of the day by far for the Bulldogs. Cash Jones, the running back. Carson Beck dumps it for Jones, and very little there. Stopped at the 5-yard line by T.J. Daugherty. And Kirby Smart sends the field goal team on, wants to make it a 1-score game.
Good opening drive by Georgia, but a terrific job inside the 10 by this Ole Miss defense. That time kind of fooled Georgia and to throw it underneath, and they rally up to make the tackle.
Here's Woodring. Sophomore's been terrific. 30 straight inside of 50 yards, as you saw. His only miss of his 15 tries this year was a 55-yarder against Mississippi State. So no announcer jinx there and no graphics jinx, which led to the announcers commenting about how good and what a streak Woodring is on.
Well, it looks like it's going to be pressure. It looks like blitz. You see 2 Ole Miss defenders walked up, but on the snap, they drop out into zone coverage. This is a man-beater route. You want a running back working against a linebacker. They play zone, and it's an easy stop to rally up and make the play as J.J. Pegues walks off, will head to the locker room. And that's not just a big loss on defense, but also offensively, too, in those short yardage and goal line situations.
I wonder if that might be a concussion protocol situation. What a likable young man he is. We talked to him yesterday. Grew up here in Oxford. Ole Miss fan. But he played quarterback in high school. In addition, he said he never played defense until he went to Auburn. He went to Auburn because there was some uncertainty in the coaching situation here at Ole Miss. Went to play for Gus Malzahn. He was a tight end. They moved him to defense the 2nd year because they needed help on the defensive line. He never played defense in his life. He played running back, quarterback.
Moving from quarterback to D-tackle doesn't happen every day. You know, it's a little bit of an unusual move.
Nick Saban wanted to do that with you, but thought better of it. Woodring's kickoff is the touchback. Here's a look at coverage where it counts, presented by T-Mobile.
Well, it's not about where you start, it's where you finish. The day did not start well for Jackson Dart. Hurts his ankle on like the 2nd or 3rd snap of the game, but he bounces back. He's been a little bit ginger on that left leg, but he's hit the shallow cross here. It's a route that they had open all throughout the first half. And then the underneath routes open up the deep routes. The time that he has to survey the field and throw it downfield because of the protection was also excellent the first half. So they're going to have to get back to the run game, but continue to protect at a high level.
He has a play action fake and a completion to Jordan Watkins, who gets 9 on his 4th catch of the day. The Dart, when not blitzed in the first half, 8 out of 9. Not as good when pressured. This is the case for a lot of quarterbacks. Bentley got spun around. It looks like he got to the 35-yard line for a first down.
That'll be something worth monitoring too in the second half. Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator for Georgia, does he decide to ramp up the blitzes just a little bit? They've had a lot of time to operate, and they might need to kind of dictate a little bit by being more aggressive.
Dart given a nice pocket. Man breaking free over the middle. Caden Lee. Chopped down by Dan Jackson. 24 yards on the gain. First down, Rebels. They go quickly to the ball.
Lost in the shuffle is Caden Lee in the slot. Man, he is so difficult to defend in one-on-one.
Toss to Ulysses Bentley. And he got banged down along the boundary by Malachi Starks. 5 plays of 20-plus yards for Ole Miss today. They came in leading the nation in plays of 30-plus for the season, with 36 of those. And no Trey Harris, no Henry Parrish. They're leading receiver and rusher, respectively. And they continue to pile up the big plays. Dart with Dominique Thomas staying in the block. Another open receiver. Lee again inside the 15-yard line. Not often you see receivers wide open against this Georgia defense, but he was again for 27 more.
And Kirby Smart having a word with his nickel, Jonel Aguero, who's responsible for that slot coverage.
They bring a blitz. It's Thomas weaving for a couple. Thomas started his college career at Union in Kentucky, an NAIA school.
This is the part of the field, though, that Ole Miss has struggled just a little bit. They're as good as they are offensively, just 74th in red zone touchdown efficiency, so have to pay this off with 6 and not settle for 3.
It's a reverse. Watkins looked like he might want to throw it. He gets spun around and he's down inside the 10-yard line. Chopped down by Dalen Everett. 4-yard gain. 3rd down and 5.
This is a spot where you would love to have your big body receiver Trey Harris at 6'3", 210, but with him out, I'm going to look in the direction of my tight end. Daquan Wright, number 8, has been excellent in this part of the field. He's been in the end zone a couple times the last few weeks. I'd be looking at big number 8 there against the safety.
They need the 4-yard line. It's 3rd down and 6. Dart. Wells. Touchdown. Juice Wells. Trey Harris not even dressed out for the second half this afternoon. They don't need him. Clearly a catch. And Lane Kiffin is going to go for 2. Trying to make it a 14-point game. Go for Dose is brought to you by Dos Equis. And what an answer by the Ole Miss offense after Georgia marched down and kicked a field goal. Dominique Thomas, the running back here on the 2-point play. Dart slip. Dart just shovels it forward, an incomplete pass. And they go 75 yards in 8 plays, and Juice Wells, they've been looking for more from him. A 10-yard touchdown. They're up by 12.
Let's take a look at the last touchdown by the AT&T Connected Cam. Look at the eyes of KJ Bolden. That's to tell you the story. He's going to look and he's going to notice that his eyes are not on the intended receiver. Where are they? They're not in the backfield, excuse me. They are on the intended receiver. So Dart knows that he won't locate the ball. So as a result, knowing that he's not looking to him, he can just throw it right above his helmet. He'll never see it. And Juice Wells can go up, reel it in, in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. That was a great job by Jackson Dart, seeing the defender's eyes, taking advantage of it with great ball placement right over the top of his head.
So it's the largest lead of the game for either team. Caden Davis will kick off with Cash Jones back deep. And it's a touchback. And after we're finished here, still more great SEC action on ABC. Jalen Milroe and the Alabama Crimson Tide arrive in Baton Rouge, Tigers Stadium, to take on the 15th ranked Tigers. What is, in all intents and purposes, an elimination game for the loser of that one. With an eye toward the college football playoff, the winner has reached the SEC title game in each of the last 6 seasons. It's going to be tough for Alabama with 2 conference losses, but LSU part of that group with 1 conference loss, a group of 5 starting the day.
It's one of my favorite games in college football. 9 national championships between the 2 programs since 2003. Just an amazing, amazing game with great athletes all over the field.
J.J. Pegues not in the middle of that defensive front on first down for Georgia. Nate Frazier rips ahead for 9. Here's Molly.
Well, Sean, you saw D lineman J.J. Pegues walk slowly and gingerly back to the locker room. Athletic training staff were very carefully rubbing his left shoulder and neck area. I'm told he's undergoing further evaluation and is questionable to return with an upper body injury. He's still in the locker room now.
Nate Frazier again. Tough run backpedaling at the end to get to the 41. 8 more. Frazier's had the bulk of the ball carrying. Trevor Etienne playing through the rib injuries, carried 5 times. Frazier now 11 carries. Beck lofts it ahead to Jurasik. Tackled from behind at the 48-yard line. They got 7.
And that's an example right there, that play right there. That's progress from Carson Beck. He didn't wait too long to let things open up downfield. He just, hey, first and 10, take what the defense gives you. Live to play 2nd and 3. You don't always have to go for the jugular as a quarterback. Take it underneath and continue to stay efficient with your decision making.
Under 5 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Pressure on Beck, and he throws it away over the head of Frazier. Well, Molly spoke with Carson Beck during the week. We had the game to start the year against Clemson in Atlanta. Carson Beck told Molly he had 3 goals, 3 reasons, big reasons why he came back. Win a national championship as the starting quarterback, win the Heisman Trophy, get drafted in the 1st round. The Heisman Trophy is out the window. Chance he could be a 1st-round pick, but that's less likely when the year started. Over the middle, there's Dominic Lovett, the catch. When he admitted to Molly this week, he's just put a lot of pressure on himself. He's tried to do too much, and he's played much more within the offense today.
And this is big time. Watch how he scans the field here. Doesn't like it to the right. Works all the way back to his number 3 wide receiver. That's Lovett across the middle. That was great poise and decision-making and an accurate throw.
Decision-making's been the biggest problem. He's trying to jam it into tough situations. Cash Jones chopped down by Chris Graves. Molly?
Yeah, Beck admitted that pressure has really hurt his performance, and he admitted this week he finally just let it go, shifted his focus to the people around him, and he said that it's working. He felt something click this week where he's finally able to let go of all of that pressure and just take everything play by play. He said he feels like a different player this week because of that.
There's been a lot of talk. He misses Brock Bowers, who's a great tight end. And Ladd McConkey, they're both in the NFL now. They played a lot of last season without them. Bowers missed 4 games. McConkey missed 5. Frazier spun around and dropped. The ball's out at the end of the play. Rebels think they have it right in front of their sideline. Xavier Harris knocked it out, and Ole Miss has recovered. Walter Nolan has the fumble.
And Walter Nolan dives on it, but it's play made by Xavier Harris, who pulls it free from the outstanding freshman Nate Frazier, who's had some fumbling issues before, but what a play by Ole Miss's defense.
J.J. Pegues back on the Ole Miss bench. And he looked a moment ago like he might be able to return. It's a deep defensive line. It was Xavier Harris, who's a backup who plays a lot, who made the play to rip the fumble out with Pegues on the bench. Jordan Watkins dropped for a loss. On first down for Ole Miss, a 3-yard loss tackled by the freshman Chris Cole.
Speaking of depth on defense, I mean, just one after another for Georgia at the second level. Chris Cole, you see the speed out there to chase down a guy that runs 4.3 is pretty impressive.
Freshman from Salem, Virginia. Just one top 3 recruiting class after another for Kirby Smart. Georgia 7-1 or better for the 7th time in the last 8 years under Kirby. Jackson Dart. Oh, kinds of grass over there. And the crowd loved the fact that he lowered his shoulder into KJ Bolden. And it's a first down after a 21-yard run by Dart.
A great decision there by Dart. One of the few times Glenn Schumann's called blitz. That time, they have nobody outside the left because they brought pressure to the right. Dart makes him pay with his legs.
7th play of 20-plus yards on offense for Ole Miss today. Taking down toward 2 minutes to go. In the third quarter, Dart might have been deflected. Tried to get it to Caden Lee. It was a flutter ball. Dart, after that performance last week's the all-time leader in total offense at Ole Miss. Second in passing yards behind Eli Manning. And a very good chance to pass Eli before the end of the year. Came into today needing fewer than 600 yards. He's at 199 today. Averaging 357 per game passing. Play clock at 3. 2 minutes to go, third quarter. Another errant ball. Jordan Watkins, the intended receiver, with Malachi Starks in coverage.
That was tipped at the line of scrimmage by Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, too. So clearly, with how quickly Ole Miss is getting rid of the football, Georgia's pass rush maybe slowing down, trying to get in the throwing lanes with their hands, see if they can't tip a few at the line of scrimmage.
Third down and 10.
Man, look right here. I would love this matchup right here against Malachi Starks with Caden Lee.
Play clock at 1. They just did get it off. It's a blitz. It's another tip ball. And almost caught by Jalen Walker.
And just a great job. They bring pressure around. Number 3, C.J. Allen, is unblocked. Dart knows he has to get rid of the football. He's got a guy open underneath. That's Bentley. But the outstanding linebacker Allen goes up, tips it, and it falls incomplete, nearly intercepted.
Good hands in that defensive front, tipping some passes for Dart to end that possession. Just the second punt for Frazier Mazin. And a fair catch made by Malachi Starks. Georgia will start inside its own 9-yard line after a 44-yard punt.
Georgia's been a team that has almost always answered the call. I mean, even when they don't have their best stuff, they seemingly get better as the game goes along. And this feels like a drive right now. The offense found rhythm on the last drive. They were throwing it well. They've been running it pretty well. Just got to stay with that. Just got to make sure ball security here as the weather and the conditions are still challenging.
And they had a long drive for a field goal to start the half. Then they had another good drive going, and Frazier fumbled the first Georgia turnover of the game. Each team has turned it over once. Carson Beck, fake to Etienne, who's back in. Here's Arian Smith, knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Yam Banks. the backup defensive back who plays quite a bit, transfer from South Alabama.
One thing that hasn't really been that impactful here in the second half has been this Ole Miss pass rush. They haven't really been able to get home, and with J.J. Pegues sideline, Xavier Harris, number 51, is in there. He's very disruptive on the inside, but their pressure is going to come from the edges. You got to see Princey Umanmielen and Jared Ivey there on the edges, see if they can get home.
Lots of running room for the speedy Arian Smith. After the catch, she got 9. We're under a minute to go in the third quarter.
Third and short. They're inside of 1 yard. They run it every single time, and it's almost always to the running back. So what I anticipate here, handoff up inside as Pegues comes back on. See if he can't stall him here on a short yardage situation.
Three out of 9 on third down. It's been a season-long problem. Beck keeps it and lunges ahead for the first down. 6'4", 220, why not? That might be the last play of this third quarter. Georgia in no hurry to line up and snap it again. They've come back time and time again. Do they have one more in them? Likely the final play now of the quarter. They did line up to have a chance to snap it, but did not. ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Coach, what will it take to come back and win this?
It'll take about 3 really good drives, maybe 4, and we got to get a turnover on defense. But we got it in us.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Much better third quarter on offense, but they were still outscored by Ole Miss 6-3 in that third quarter. This record-setting crowd starting to feel like they might be here on an historic night. It will be the highest-ranked opponent they've ever defeated at home. AP-ranked opponent during the poll era, which goes back to 1936. Never beat a top 2 opponent here. Georgia's number 3 in the CFB, but they're number 2 in the AP this week. When they beat Alabama here in 2014, the Tide was ranked number 3 in the country. But a long way to go, and a team with a knack for coming back, as they've done over and over again, particularly the last 2 years. We're going to wait for the smoke to clear here. That camera shot doesn't look that bad, but from where we are, it's bad.
I always thought the smoke was an advantage for the away team because you can't see the white jerseys through the smoke. What do you think, Sean?
They're hoping for a little help from the breeze here, but there really isn't any.
I think, though, for this next play and this next sequence of plays, Georgia's done a great job of creating misdirection and indecision amongst Ole Miss's defensive line. Ole Miss's defensive line has been able to tee off early in this game, but the misdirection has kind of slowed down that pass rush. So as a result, Carson Beck's had more time to find receivers downfield, and the offense has started to click as a result.
The smoke is sufficiently lifted. Last time they overcame a 10-point deficit entering the fourth quarter on the road was 1999 against Vanderbilt. Of course, when you have the success that they've had over the years, you're not down much entering the fourth quarter. Twice this year, they're 1-1. The loss, of course, at Alabama. The ball comes out! And it looked like Georgia got it back. Frazier, the ball carries, already lost a fumble in the third quarter, and Etienne's going to come in for him. Jared Wilson, the center, pounced on the fumble.
And that's a huge problem. I mean, Frazier kind of went to the doghouse a little bit because of fumbles in practice. Here almost loses another one, so they bring in the more sure-handed Etienne now. Even though he's not at 100%, he will secure the football.
Trey Amos ripped it out. Transfer cornerback from Alabama has had a terrific year. Wound up as a 5-yard gain through the smoke. Beck throws short of the first down to Dylan Bell. 4-yard gain. What a difference a year makes. Last year in Athens, Georgia scored 52 points in a 52-17 win over then number 10 Ole Miss. The worst loss of Lane Kiffin's tenure here. Today it's the Ole Miss defense that has ruled the day.
You would anticipate Georgia challenging that offensive line here on 3rd and short, though, trying to run it to convert on 3rd and 1.
Just 216 yards of offense for the Dogs today. ETN. Patient run. And a first down. E.J. Daugherty made the tackle.
And this is such a great job by ETN. They win inside, and ETN breaks it all the way back out to the left. Such a patient runner. I mean, that was almost a tackle for loss. And it was a good job, too, securing the edge by number 11, Arian Smith, who went in there, was able to provide a little bit of inside-out help to allow that conversion.
Wonder if we'll see Frazier again, having put the ball on the ground twice now. 6 carries for 24 for ETN. Playing through a rib injury. Beck trying to find somewhere to go. Now he takes off running and dives across the 40. 9-yard gain. He's a very good athlete. He's capable of that more often than he does. He doesn't need to do it. Well protected by that offensive line, but he was a college recruited baseball player. Originally that was his plan, to go to Florida and play baseball, but then when he started getting recruited to play football, he chose football. In part, he told us early in the year, because football you get a full scholarship. Baseball usually it's a partial scholarship. He made the right decision and to play for a long time. Cash Jones on 2nd and 2, got nothing. The mayor of Oxford, J.J. Pegues. He's the mayor, but even he couldn't find enough tickets for this one with this record-setting crowd. He said he has a bunch of cousins, and he had to tell a lot of people, I'm sorry, I can't get you tickets. I just don't have enough.
Understandable. It's a tough situation, and another tough situation here for the Georgia offense. 3rd down and medium. Had this down and distance multiple times today. Number 6, Dominic Lovett. That's their guy in short yardage medium situations.
5 out of 11 on 3rd down. It's a blitz. They were close to being offside, and it's another sack. Princely Uman-Muel, the ball is still free. Recovered by Georgia for an even bigger loss as Cash Jones got taken down back near the 20. There is a flag down on the far side of the field. What a wild play that was, and this is a really important call by Jeff Heiser.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 25.
Oh, wow. It would have been 4th and forever for Georgia, with a huge loss negated on the face mask against the excellent senior safety, Trey Washington.
And just such a crazy play right there, but very obvious. I mean, they are off the field, and because of all this twists and moves and up front off the left-hand side, it's a great move there by Princely Uman-Muel, and the ball's dislodged. It gets kicked around. Looked like for a moment they were going to be able to recover it, but they didn't. Uman-Muel makes the play, and just really unfortunate there for Ole Miss, though, to have that fumble picked up by a running back and then have the unfortunate right hand of Trey Washington up into the face mask, where it results in a free first down on a broken play.
Well, just the 2nd Ole Miss penalty today, but both have been on the defense, both to extend drives for Georgia. And the other common denominator, the 2 losses for Lane Kiffin this year, against Kentucky here and at LSU. They had a chance to win the game if they could just get a 4th down stop in the 4th quarter. And in both games, they couldn't do that late and wound up losing. Will they get the key stop today when they need it most? Under 11 minutes to go. Beck with pressure coming, and down he goes. Sontaran Perkins. Third sack for the Rebels.
Well, the left tackle is struggling so much earning the screen that they put Oscar Delt, number 4, over there to try to help, and it doesn't matter. Sontaran Perkins is among the fastest players on this Ole Miss football team. They say he can run a 4.3, low 4.3. He goes fast as he can around the edge to drop back for another sack.
He's an edge rusher at 210. Pete Gooding, the coordinator, said ideally he'd be a will linebacker, but they need him as an edge rusher. He leads the SEC with 10 sacks. Flag down before the snap. Thrown by the umpire.
Delay game. Defense, number 23 for Clapton. 5-yard penalty. 7 down.
Tyree Coleman called for the penalty.
That just basically wipes out the first down sack, too. I mean, that's potentially a pretty significant penalty there as Tyree Coleman were trying to communicate with the secondary. And now, not all the way back to the sticks, but Georgia's in a much better situation.
Clock rolls under 10 minutes to go. Ole Miss, a game it has to have with an eye toward the college football playoff.
There's Perkins on the bottom.
Etienne went in motion. They sent 4 receivers over there. Beck scrambling for his life. Carson Beck near another first down to the 38-yard line. They'll need 3 on third down. He was run down by T.J. Daugherty.
They might have gotten away with a hold here.
Crowd thinks so.
On Monroe Freeling, number 57. Sontaran Perkins worked inside, and he just shoots right inside, but watch the left arm of Freeling. Looks like he kind of grabs Sontaran Perkins and tackles him to the ground. I mean, that's one that I think they probably should have called.
Third down and 3. You'd have to think this is 4 down territory. Beck short set on target for a first down. To the 27-yard line goes Dominic Lovett. An 11-yard gain. His 4th catch of the day to lead the Dogs. He's their leading receiver for the year.
Third down, medium, Dominic Lovett. Rinse and repeat almost all the time. At the time he gets man coverage, runs a great route, and they get another conversion. See if they go heavy play action here. I might go heavy play action, see if I can take a shot over the top and one-on-one with Arian Smith at the top of the screen.
Beck under center. And threw it over the head of Etienne. Good decision with Chris Paul Jr. in coverage. Who Paul, not related to Chris Paul, the basketball star, although he does get asked about that a lot.
This is one where if you really thought you might have a chance to hit Arian Smith, they call the shot play off play action, and he's behind the defender. But he's running in. It looks like Washington, number 25, is able to get back over the top to talk Carson Beck out of it. But Arian Smith said, I was open, man. Come back to it.
But if you're Carson Beck, and all you've heard about is making good decisions, last thing you can do in this situation is make a bad one and force one in. Takes the check down again. Nice move by Etienne to avoid a loss. Got back to the line of scrimmage, and that's it. T.J. Daugherty there again, a transfer from Clemson. Now it's a couple of Rebels slow to get up, including Walter Nolan and Trey Amos. Amos still down. Back in Oxford, Mississippi, it's the SEC on ABC. Ole Miss in need of a win to keep their college football playoff hopes alive, leading 22-10. But here's a Georgia 3rd and 10, and Amos off the field.
And a big one too. Without Walter Nolan on this snap, their best internal pass rusher and their best corner, Trey Amos. So if I'm Carson Beck, it's all about matchup. I'm looking at who's covering Arian Smith because I got a backup corner on the field, and I want to take my chances with my fastest receiver at him.
T.J. Banks, the true freshman, is in, number 19. For Amos, they like his talent, but he's only 18 years old.
Here's Smith in the slot.
They've converted their last 4 third downs. Has Georgia 3 of them on this drive. They're moving, but they've taken almost 9 minutes off the clock. The pass too far in front of Dylan Bell. It's 4th and 10, but a field goal is still a 2-score game midway through the 4th quarter, so Kirby's leaving the offense on.
Big miss there to make 4th down a little more manageable. And now you have the best corner coming back on the field. But I agree with the decision to go for it here. 4th and 10 here. Still looking in the direction of Arian Smith. Big 3rd downs. He's been their go-to guy. Big 3rd down conversion against Florida and Texas earlier this year.
Play of the year on defense for Ole Miss. 4th down and 10. Back. Deflected and intercepted. John Saunders picks it off and slides down at the 25. Tough to tell from here if it was tipped or not, but it was certainly a flutter ball. Ivy, we think, got a hand on it.
And Ivy does a great job here. Watch his eyes. He doesn't get home. He's looking at it. He's watching the whole way. So he goes skyward at 6'6". He tips it, and it allows John Saunders to intercept it in the back end, and Ole Miss's defense stands tall.
The SEC on ABC is presented by Burger King. You rule.
John Saunders Jr. His 10th career interception, his 5th at Ole Miss. He's in his 2nd year here. He played 3 years at Miami, Ohio. And here are the pertinent numbers more than midway through the 4th quarter. Georgia's won 52 straight against teams other than Alabama. The last lost to somebody other than the Tide back in 2020 to Florida. Ole Miss has never beaten a team ranked in the AP top 2 at home. Back when the poll era started in 1936. Ulysses Bentley content just to kill some time. Their highest ranked home win against Alabama here in 2014, and that's now 12 interceptions in the last 6 games for Carson Beck. The most in a 6-game stretch since Matt Corral for the Ole Miss Rebels, who's here today. Saw him on the sideline before the game, threw 13 in a 6-game stretch. You can be a good quarterback and do that. Here's Watkins with all kinds of running room. Taken down by the freshman KJ Bolden. 19 more on the completion to an emerging star, Jordan Watkins.
That was an amazing play by Jackson Dart, moving in the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield, knowing where his outlet was, and he makes him right. Just an incredible play by the veteran quarterback.
Dart, play fake, trying to get it to Watkins. He put his hands up as if saying being held. Lane Kiffin, swayed by that, goes running down the sideline to argue with one of the officials. It was Dalen Everett who had the coverage.
Trying to kind of sneak one there as Georgia, a lot of guys up around the line of scrimmage, anticipating run. Lane Kiffin says if we got one-on-ones, we trust our quarterback, we'll take a shot, and might have gotten away with one there against Glenn Schumann's defense.
Watkins lines up in the backfield and then goes in motion. Jackson Dart pulls it down and runs. And he's still running. Jackson Dart banged out of bounds by KJ Bolden. You'd never know he left very early with a left ankle injury.
And they're trying to do a bunch of movement up front defensively, but Jackson Dart sees it, and he sees the Red Sea part, and he's out the gate. Just a great job by Jackson Dart, recognizing that they were not sound in their pass rush, seeing a lot of space up front, and then taking off. That's just a veteran play by the quarterback.
28-yard run, the 8th play of 20-plus for Ole Miss today. And Jackson Dart Dominic Thomas ahead for about 8. Georgia had only given up 23 plays on defense of 20-plus. They got up 8 in one game today. You don't usually get it in big chunks against Kirby Smart's defense.
No, I mean, this goes to show you, they have not been able to affect Jackson Dart at all. Outside of the early ankle injury, they haven't been able to apply consistent pressure. They haven't been able to get home. And as a result, what many have thought, the vulnerability of this defense, their secondary, they've been picked apart to the tune of 263 yards through the air.
It's up to 248 total yards of offense. There's Dominique Thomas again. Gives them a 1st and goal inside the 10. What a story. Thomas, as we mentioned earlier, started at a small NAIA school in Kentucky, Union College. He's on a bus ride with his football team when he got news that a tornado had ravaged his hometown in East Alabama and killed his mother and 2 grandparents and seriously injured his sister. He transferred to Clemson as a walk-on, wanted to live his dream. Dabo Swinney loved him. Wasn't getting much chance to play. Went to Georgia State. They had a coaching change. Went in the portal. Lane Kiffin called Dabo Swinney. Says one of my favorite players I've ever coached. And he has dealt with unspeakable tragedy in his life. And here he is, center stage in a huge moment for the Ole Miss football program.
Just an amazing, amazing young man, and an opportunity to seal what could be one of the biggest wins in Ole Miss history here. Just 6 yards away.
Ole Miss up by 12. 3.5 to go. It's Veterans Week on ABC, presented by USAA. Coming up when we're finished here, another very important game in the SEC. Garrett Nussmeier and LSU hosting Alabama. Each team with 2 losses overall. LSU in conference just the 1 loss. One of 5 teams to start the day with 1 conference loss. Georgia on the verge of taking its 2nd here unless this changes dramatically. J.J. Pegues is on the field on offense. In front of Dart and to his right with Dominique Thomas, the running back. He's not quite sure where to go, and they have to use a timeout.
A day when pretty much everything's been beautiful for Ole Miss. That might be, a little coaching there,
Well, we asked J.J. Pegues yesterday, how much time do you spend in offensive meetings?
Right.
He said, not much. Most of my time's on defense. He said, but just about every week, the coaches will tell him, we have a new play for you.
Right.
So maybe this is a new wrinkle. He got dinged in the head a little bit earlier. What a young man he is. We really enjoyed our conversation with him yesterday, and a remarkable athlete at his size.
It's amazing to see a guy that's that heavy, 315 pounds, that moves with such light feet. I mean, it's like a ballerina when he's running through the hole, and yet he can lower his shoulder and run over defensive tackles. That's a pretty impressive combination.
Pegues has come off the field. Dominique Thomas remains the running back. He didn't arrive until the summer. Here he is on the field in a huge spot. He gets the call again. They just want him to hang on to the ball as much as anything else. They're trying to rip it out. Starks leading the way on the tackle for the Georgia defense. One timeout left for Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. Kick off your NFL Sunday, 10 a.m. The Countdown Crew on ESPN and the app. They'll have early breaking stories, injury updates, previews of each game right up to the kickoff. Then cap your NFL Week 10 with Monday Night Football on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. The Miami Dolphins at the Los Angeles Rams. Rams 4-4, riding a 3-game winning streak after they defeated the Seahawks last Sunday in overtime. Last quarterback for Georgia to throw 12 interceptions in a 6-game span, Carson Beck's offensive coordinator, Mike Bobo, back in 1996. We talked to Mike Bobo, we talked to Kirby Smart yesterday, and despite the fact Beck hasn't played up to the expectation level for many, Kirby said, I wouldn't trade him for any other quarterback in the country. He said, you might hear complaints about him, but you won't hear them from me.
And with the game on the line, I mean, Beck has delivered. Unfortunately, I'm not sure he's going to have much of an opportunity. Down 2 scores here in a moment.
The Geese now lined up at tight end on the left end of the line. Jackson Dart. Conservative play call there. They want to make Georgia use its last timeout. They'll still have the 2-minute stoppage. And what do you do here? So you kick a field goal and make it a 15-point game, but still 2 scores and a chance for Georgia. Or to go for the touchdown of the knockout punch.
If it were on the 1 or the 2-yard line, J.J. McGee's QB power, end of story. But with it being on the 7-yard line, I kick the field goal. 15 points with how your defense has played all game long, and with how you've rushed the passer at times in this game, feels like a very comfortable lead. So I would kick it here, secure it, and then I would start thinking about how do I rush the quarterback and end this game with a big strip sack.
Well, the analytics say to kick it. And Caden Davis has already made 3 field goals. Try to make it a 15-point game. Charlie Pollock, the holder. He's made from 23, 43, and 53 today. This is a 24-yarder. Georgia desperately needs a block. It's good. And the lead grows to 15. Lane Kiffin on the verge of his biggest win as a college football head coach in his 13 seasons on the sidelines.
That was a really good drive by Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin's offense. I mean, just methodical, taking a lot of time off the clock, get results in 3 points, which is big points at this point just to extend that lead. But taking the 4 minutes off was really terrific. And now Carson Beck back against the wall, having to manufacture an awful lot in weather and wet conditions with an offensive line that has really had a lot of challenges tonight with this Ole Miss defensive front.
So now needing a big return, they have Trevor Etienne back there instead of Cash Jones. Michael Jackson III is also back there, transfer for USC, who hasn't played much. I think Caden Davis would just try to bomb it for another touchback, and he does. Make them go to 75 yards against this outstanding Ole Miss defense.
And they've been tenacious all night. A little earlier in the 3rd quarter, they forced the fumble that really kills a drive for Georgia. And then a little later, 4th and 10, Ivy at 6'6", drops back underneath, knows he can't get home with the pass rush, goes skyward, tips the ball, and it ends up in John Saunders' hands a little while later. Just a terrific second half performance, and really the whole game. But now they can put this thing on ice, and their 2 pass rushers, Suntaran Perkins and number 1, Prince Umanmiel, number 4 at the bottom and number 1 at the top. They can end this game with a sack.
And Arian Smith lost the ball. They're rolling in an incomplete pass. And Georgia's come apart. Their last 2 possessions ended in turnovers, and they took more than 12 minutes off the clock on those 2 drives.
And no gloves, as you can see from Arian Smith, because of just how wet it is. They take the gloves off, hands a little better, but clearly the ball slick, affecting how well they can reel it in. And then getting it out quick like that goes to show you how much they respect this pass rush.
Pressure! Beck goes down, the ball's out again. Princely Umanmielen knocked it out, and it's Rebels football. Suntaran Perkins recovered it.
This is why pass rushers get paid the big bucks in the NFL, because they end games. And that's exactly what Princely Umanmielen does right here. He's been absolutely working the left side all night long. Ernest Green has no chance there as Umanmielen strips Carson back. And then the other edge rusher, Terran Perkins, is there to recover the fumble. Just an amazing performance down the stretch by this Ole Miss defensive line that was pieced together in the portal this offseason for moments like this.
Third consecutive turnover to end a Georgia drive. They didn't commit a turnover in the first 3 games. In those 3, Beck threw 7 touchdown passes without a pick. Dominique Thomas called upon. They just want to hang on to the football. Ty Ingram Dawkins made the tackle.
So difficult to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. They are so good. But if you look at their last 5 losses dating back to 2020, they were -10 in the turnover margin.
That's usually what gets you beat.
And when you have a talent advantage over just about everybody you play, you almost have to kind of screw it up to allow other teams to be in it. And that's been a huge story tonight. Now, Ole Miss deserves all the credit in the world, stripping the ball and playing the way they've played. But man, the big turnovers by Georgia has them in this massive hole.
They're out of timeouts. They'll get the 2-minute stoppage. Thomas stopped by C.J. Allen. They won't have to snap it again before the 2-minute stoppage. Lane Kiffin rebuilt his team after they got shelled. They won 11 games last year. They got hammered in Athens. He said, yeah, we had a good year. We won a lot of close games, but we knew we weren't good enough to compete with the Georgias of the world. 26 players here in the transfer portal. Many of them key factors here tonight. 2 minutes to go in front of a record crowd in Oxford, about to watch a historic Ole Miss win. Another big game coming up, both in the SEC and nationally. As soon as we're finished here, Ryan Williams, the outstanding freshman wide receiver, and Alabama at LSU, 2 top 15 teams in the college football playoff. But one could easily be knocked out with the loss there tonight. Seems like an elimination game. 2 minutes to go here. Georgia out of timeouts. Ole Miss 3rd down and 7. The Bulldogs 16, leading by 15 points. Dominique Thomas. You kick one more field goal?
Yeah. Yes, kick the field goal here, but I would obviously exhaust all the time off the clock as humanly possible. But a field goal here makes it a 18-point game and would essentially do it.
Ole Miss lined up. I think they might just try to draw him offside. They'll have Gees lined up. We asked them yesterday, what do they call this when you're the Wildcat quarterback? They said they call it Oxford, because he's from Oxford, the mayor of Oxford. And he'll be reelected without opposition after this performance by he and his mates tonight. So here are the numbers, and it's most certainly going to be an Ole Miss win and a Georgia loss. And now pressure on Georgia going forward. Still a 72% chance to make the field. This is their final road game of the season, but they have a big one on ABC next Saturday night between the hedges against Tennessee. And the picture brightens dramatically for Ole Miss, which is off next week, goes to Florida, and then finish the regular season with the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State here in Oxford.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is in a great spot, especially with the chaos that's likely going to happen here in the Big Ten. I don't think Penn State is immune to losing another one. Indiana right now in a dogfight against Michigan, and they still have to go to Ohio State next week. So Ole Miss, they might need a little help, but they're in a really good spot after this victory.
Very little doubt about the outcome. This would definitely seal it. Make it a 3-score game, and Davis Career 5 made field goals. He made 4 at LSU in their loss earlier this season. The school record is 6 by Jonathan Nichols. So he's going to come up 1 shy of that. 1:11 to go. Ole Miss leading 28-10.
What a transformation, too. And Lane Kiffin deserves so much credit, recognizing where they were flawed and what they needed to do to get up to the level of playing against the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world by reinforcing their offensive and defensive lines and committing to being more balanced as opposed to just winning track meets and winning games. Now their defense can win them games, and they did so tonight with a tremendous 10-point affair.
You know who else deserves a lot of credit? The people who gave money to the Grove Initiative because it cost a lot of money, reportedly about $10 million in NIL to put this team together. Scoreboard and the PA announcer have been asking the fans to stay off the field. That's not going to happen. It's going to be the highest ranked home win in school history. Caden Davis, what a night he's had. And, you know, it looked like to a lot of people, there was talk about on ESPN.com today, a Texas-Georgia, we were heading toward that in the SEC title game. As a great man might say, not so fast, my friend. So now there'll be 4 one-loss teams, with Georgia about to take its 2nd conference loss. Texas already won earlier today. Tennessee's about to get in action at home tonight against Mississippi State. Texas A&M is off. And LSU, the other one-loss team, about to host Alabama. It is wide open with an eye toward the conference championship game in Atlanta. Beck, out of bounds, Arian Smith.
You just have to wonder, too, for Ole Miss and what could have been, as Lane Kiffin in the SEC standings probably going to keep them out of the SEC championship game, their first trip, with just 2 losses. But Georgia, with their 2nd loss, that SEC title game is going to get real crazy here down the stretch.
And Texas A&M and Texas renewing their rivalry at the end of the regular season. That looms as huge. Beck is stripped again. Jared Ivey again. And it was recovered by Xavier Truss. Kind of feels like an appropriate ending to this one.
Just a relentless pursuit of Carson Beck all night long. And the offensive line now for Georgia, long considered a massive strength. They got massive question marks with an elite pass rush coming to Athens next week with Tennessee.
So Georgia will lose to somebody other than Alabama for the first time since November 7th of 2020 when they lost to Florida. Ole Miss using its last time out. They had won 52 in a row, the Dogs, the teams against teams other than Alabama. And a huge win on the other side. Kirby Smart's friend, Lane Kiffin, starting to get the reputation as, you know, guy's won a lot of games, but hasn't won the big one. This is a big one.
This is big. Absolutely massive for this program, and it's a proof of results. I mean, it's a proof of concept, because I think it's easy to sell hope and vision. It's another thing to pay it off when you get that opportunity, and to seize this opportunity tonight is massive for this program moving forward.
30 seconds to go. That one batted down by Ivey. And we talk now about, you know, the picture nowhere near as bright for Georgia going forward. The game next week is huge. Carson Beck in this offense needs to get better.
Yeah, they got major problems. And it's not just, everyone's talked about Carson Beck's interceptions, but they need to look at the receiver play and the drops and the inconsistencies with routes and the inability to separate downfield. And then, to make matters worse, the inconsistencies on the offensive line. Because if you can't block people in this league, you got major issues.
I would argue with that a little bit. I mean, it got ugly here late, but, you know, they came into tonight having given up 10 sacks all year. Beck was pressured only 20% of his dropbacks all year entering tonight, the 3rd lowest in the country. So to the indignity of delay a game here. I think Kirby Smart can see, hey, it's not Brock Bowers, it's not Ladd McConkey. Those were two great players who are excelling in the NFL. And when the quarterback loses guys like that, you knew in every situation Brock Bowers was going to be open. You could hand the ball off to Brock Bowers if you wanted to. Ladd McConkey was going to be open. He doesn't have that same belief and trust in these other guys. They have a lot of good players, but they don't have those kind of guys that you can depend on in those situations.
And that'll be something to watch, because the expectation of Georgia is to be in the mix for a national championship. And right now, the way this team is playing,
they're storming the field. The game's not over. The referee, Jeff Heeser, telling the fans to get off. So Kirby Smart will not be vacationing in Oxford. Lane Kiffin not happy about this development. Kirby's first career loss back in 2016. Georgia's last trip to Ole Miss was here. And it was and remains the biggest loss of his career. And now they lose to Ole Miss for just the second time in the last 13 meetings, both here in Oxford. And they're trying to get the fans off the field. And Mike Swanson, our statistician, makes a great point. You can't forget what Austin Simmons did in this game.
Yes.
It was Georgia with a takeaway and interception on the first possession for Ole Miss. Georgia scored a touchdown on a very short field. Dart had to leave after the interception with what looked to be a pretty significant ankle injury. Austin Simmons came in, went 5 out of 6, and led them on a touchdown drive.
Yeah, just in and their only touchdown drive in the first half. So Austin Simmons, he'll get a game ball tonight. Now, Jackson Dart and the defense will be the story, but you're 100% right, Sean, and the importance of your backup being ready at a moment's notice. And Austin Simmons delivered when they absolutely had to have it.
And likely the quarterback of the future after a record-setting career here by Jackson Dart that's not over. But boy, he came in with everything going against Ole Miss to start the game, and he was as cool as one could be. And credit Charlie Weiss Jr., who coaches the quarterbacks. He looked very well coached, very poised, very able to handle the tempo, because they didn't slow down even with the backup quarterback in the game. Charlie Weiss Jr. got some criticism. They went a little bit of a lull on offense, did Ole Miss. They had 4 straight games. They didn't score more than 27 points for the 63 last week. And this is one of the great offenses in college football, now coupled with a great defense. And they're still alive with an eye toward the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin has his biggest win. Ole Miss has its first home win against an AP top 2 team ever, and just their second all-time in 26 games against the top 2, home or away. And right now Lane just wants to get off the field. And Greg, they have a lot more work to do, both of these teams, now to get in the playoff. But if Ole Miss gets in, there's the old, that's the team nobody wants to play. There's Molly McGrath with Lane Kiffin.
Coach, I finally got you. The fans with a little premature rushing of the field, but the highest ranked home win in school history. They have a lot to be excited about. What did it take to get this win?
Proud for our players, our fans. You know, they put a lot into this season. We screwed up 2 games, so really pleased the way they played today. A really clean game against the best team in the country that hadn't lost for 51 games except Alabama. So just really happy for our fans, and thank God for our players and the way they came back from adversity this year.
You told us Georgia is the best team in the country. You forced 3 consecutive turnovers to end the game. How did your defense control this one all day?
Yeah, I mean, one year ago we lost to these guys by like 30, and we made a decision. We got to go recruit differently. We got to coach differently. We planned for this game for a year. We game planned all offseason schematically against their defense and offense, and it paid off today.
Yeah, you mentioned that 35-point loss to Georgia last season. It opened your eyes to what it would would take to contend in the SEC. How is this team now built to go far?
I didn't hear you.
How is this team built to contend in the SEC?
We got a couple games left, and we go into a bye. This is a really good win. Again, I'm just happy for our family, or for our university, our players. You know, that's a lot of work to beat those guys like that. A lot of guys did things right, so we still got a long ways to go.
I can't let you go before I ask you about Jackson Dart, leaving the game with an injury and then coming back. What kind of guts did you see from your quarterback?
Yeah, that's amazing performance by him to be hurt, come back. I love that kid.
I see you getting a little emotional.
All right.
All right, thanks, Coach. Congrats.
Record-setting crowd here as well, more than 68,000. A town that knows how to party. It'll go long into the night here in Oxford. Hotty toddy. The Rebs with a huge win, one of the biggest in the history of the program. And not surprised, Lane got a little choked up talking about Jackson Dart. You know, what a leader he's been of this team. He told us, Lane did early in the year, Jackson Dart was very involved in recruiting a lot of these guys who they got out of the transfer portal. When they would come and visit the off-season, he was involved with every single one of them, convincing them they could be a championship team.
Yeah, I can understand as a quarterback being involved with the offensive guys, but when he's actively recruiting Princely Uman-Mielen and some of the guys that rushed the passer and made it so impossible on Carson Beck all night, just goes to show you how all in he is for this program. And this program really deserved this, because to look at their 2 losses and to see how they lost those games, and just needing 1 4th down stop against Kentucky, 1 4th down stop against LSU, and they're an undefeated football team. So to see them rise to the occasion was really rewarding tonight.
Yeah, they could very easily, with those 2 4th down stops, be an undefeated team right now. I still think they're good enough to win the national championship. They may not even make the playoff. And Georgia, you know, Lane said they've been the best program, and they have been for the last few years. I don't think they're the best team in the country anymore.
Yeah, they have some flaws, and they have a lot of talent, but they need to improve drastically down the stretch if they're going to make a run here in the postseason.
They have a huge one next Saturday night at home on ABC against Tennessee, but still to come tonight, Alabama at LSU. Don't go anywhere. Final score tonight here in Oxford: Ole Miss 28, Georgia 10. For Molly McGrath, Greg McElroy, our great crew led by Phil Dean and Scott Johnson, Sean McDonough. Good night from Oxford. Let's send you back to the studio.
Sean, thank you. They're going to party all night long into that deep, long weekend in Oxford. Ole Miss playoff hope still alive. We have a knockout game ahead in Death Valley. Prime time, Alabama on the road at LSU. We'll get you ready for that one after this.